So I like saying on all my videos that I am your Amazon influencer guy, but unfortunately that means not just always talking about things that are fun and exciting, but sometimes things that frankly suck. And once again, we are finding ourselves seeing what seems to be a bug or glitch in the Amazon infrastructure that is negatively impacting a pretty good and significant number of hardworking Amazon influencers. Some who have built their storefront for years, some have over 10 or 15,000 pieces of content. And we actually saw this in November, the exact same thing in November, on the exact same day, to pretty much the exact same group. So if you're watching this video, there's actually a chance that you're probably impacted by this. But I'm going to be honest, even if you're not currently impacted by this or aware of what this is, I think it's important for you to listen and hear what it is that's going on here. Because if you were not impacted, it seems to be that you were just simply lucky. It doesn't seem to be that there was any specific indicator, actions, activities, or anything that these people did to deserve this. And if you're sitting back going, well, at least it's not me, that is a very thin line to feel any sort of level or sense of comfort in. So even though you weren't impacted, I highly recommend just taking a few minutes here and listening to what it is that's going on within the Amazon Influencer program, just if nothing else, for context of what these other people are going through, in case for some reason later, God forbid, knock on desk wood, it happens to you. Now, if you're an Amazon influencer, I'm not going to do my normal spiel. Make sure you follow, subscribe. There's a bunch of other videos about the program where I'm usually teaching you. So, quick update, recap. In November of 2025, we saw a significant number of influencers on November 4th, overnight into the 5th, that started to lose their placements on carousels slowly. They just started to slowly dwindle, and their numbers were going down and down until about 48 hours later, when they essentially had no placements left from any of the videos they did on any carousel. Now, I want to be very clear here that we understand that on Amazon, placement movement is common, right? We're not expecting that once we're in a carousel, we're there forever. But if you're somebody that has 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 pieces of content, and they all disappear within a matter of 48 hours, that's not anymore anything related to carousel placement, visibility, or movement. That's something totally and entirely different here. It's also worth mentioning this didn't just happen to large accounts in November. It happened to some accounts that had 500 pieces of content, people that had been around the program for years, and some that had been in it for 6 months. I looked up and down trying to find any sort of common thread between these accounts, the way that they post, the types of things that they post, how many products do they tag? Do they do parent ASINs? Do they do vertical versus horizontal? How long have they been in? How long have they been out? I went through pretty much everything that I could think of in relation to them, their storefronts, their behaviors, what kind of extensions, what kind of softwares that they use, what kind of browsers were they using, what kind of computers. Nothing. I have no common thread with some of these people. Did none of that stuff. Some of these people were so new that there's like, what just happened? So it seems to be in November, we kind of get to the point where we're like, this feels completely random. After about the 4th or 5th day, I had been predicting on those videos, and if you get a chance, maybe go back and watch, I said that I was looking at like the 4-day range, because we had seen this in very, very small increments earlier in that year. Like one person would get hit and they'd be gone for like 4 days, and it became like clockwork. Every single person we saw this randomly happen to, around the 4 days mark, they would come back. Slightly different intricacies, but that's kind of what we were looking at, until we noticed a weird behavior that happened on all of the accounts that got hit. If the account that got hit also used Idealist, we noticed that on the 4th into the 5th, they all got randomly updated and shuffled up to the top of your storefront. So if you had a storefront and you had Idealist, all of a sudden you looked at that next morning of the 5th and you're like, why are all my Idealists at the top of my page? And why do they all say updated yesterday? Because I didn't update them. Now, also to be clear, this doesn't actually have anything to do with Idealist. Some people that got hit don't have any Idealist on their storefront. The Idealists just make it easy for us to visibly see if your storefront actually did get hit. Takes the guesswork out of it eventually. And that was the first sort of correlation we saw with any of these accounts of like, oh, this is a telltale sign if you've been actually impacted or not. Now, we kind of sat around for 4 or 5 days. No information actually came from Amazon whatsoever. And on that Monday, November 10th, which was the 4 to 5 day, actually right about the 5-day range, randomly, those same Idealists re-updated on their own, and slowly people started giving me reports of like, hey, I'm seeing some placements. And over the course of the next 48 hours, we slowly saw them come in, just in the same way we slowly came out. Now, we were all obviously very thrilled about that, because we were looking at getting into like Black Friday, and a lot of people put a lot of work into preparing for this thing, and for this to just into thin air without any sort of explanation or idea what had actually happened was obviously very frustrating and frankly devastating for a lot of the people that were being hit by this. But we all kind of breathed this sigh of release and tucked it into our back pocket as like, thank God that is over. Until December 4th, 2025, almost 30 days later, and again, almost on the exact same date as we saw in November. And I started getting the same reports of my idealists have all updated. And sure enough, about 48 hours later, we find that those same people, that's important to note, those same people also had just lost it again. Their numbers started to go down, lost all their placements again. Now, obviously, this is much more detrimental because we're in the second week of December. A lot of people have planned about how they were going to approach the holiday season to make sure that they made videos for products that needed videos. So, a lot on the line here, time and money financially. And so here we are now. We're on, I think, day 3, and they're out. They have no carousel placement whatsoever. And again, we have no messaging from Amazon about what's going on. In fact, in November and here in December, whenever customer support was contacted, because technically these accounts, when you look at these on the surface, they look fine. They're still there. They still say earns commissions. And the customer support people will say something like, well, carousel placement's never guaranteed. Things move around. They don't have the capability or the understanding of the system to understand what the actual problem is here. So you don't really get any answers from customer support here. So we're left to our own demise, in a sense, waiting to see what happens. And so today is Sunday, December 7th. Tomorrow is Monday, December 8th. And let me give you some context into something. So I've been talking to several different people. I've sent out a bunch of different messages, just trying to get a hold of somebody at Amazon that's willing to listen for just a second. This has actually proven to be way harder than I thought. One, because I think Amazon plays things really close to the vest. And two, a lot of people that have a contact don't want to share that contact. It's a valuable thing to have access to that one particular person, which I want to be clear, I totally understand. I have had a couple of people that gave me an email address that didn't actually end up panning out, but they were still trying. They were trying and they're still trying. So there are some of us that are trying to do something here, even though that we weren't necessarily hit. We understand the impact this has on the influencer community as a whole, right? And so I've been reaching out, doing what I can. I have not had any success in getting any sort of answers or actually reaching anybody yet, but we're working on it. I'm trying the best I can here. What do I think is going to happen here next? Well, last month we saw this return in the 4 to 5 day range, right? But we don't really know why it returned. Nobody seemed to acknowledge what was going on. It just happened, but we were so thankful that we didn't really question it after that. Obviously, a lot of people that lost their commissions during that time frame were pissed, but also breathing a sigh of relief. When we look at what's happening right now, because it's the same group, and by the way, slight caveat to that, I actually found out today about somebody that got hit that wasn't hit last month. And I assume that if there's one, there's got to be more. The core base seems to be the exact same group of people, but it does seem some other people have been swept up in this, right? Which also should give other people a little bit of concern, right? When we saw those return last month, we just said thank you, and we were still angry, etc. But we can't assume that that's what's going to happen here again this time, right? We're just because it happened once, we still don't know really what happened. And because we are in Amazon's sandbox, anything I think could happen here. We do have that one sample size that maybe gives us a little bit of predictability of what we can expect here. Here's what I probably see happening. Let me give you a couple different scenarios, actually. Scenario 1, today is Sunday. They came back last time on Monday. Now, that was around the 5-day mark. So one of two things I could see happening with that. One is because maybe it didn't come back because of the 4 or 5 days. Maybe it came back because it was a Monday and something just happened at the beginning of the week. So tomorrow being Monday, I think that's an important day to watch and to see if anything starts to happen. I think I noticed it around like mid-morning whenever I started to see it on the last Monday. Again, doesn't mean it's going to happen this time, but just for some reference of what I'm sort of looking for tomorrow on Monday. That's option 1. Option 2 is that the 4 to 5 day mark is actually more accurate. So that would actually put it probably closer to like Tuesday, maybe sliding into Wednesday. And same thing, I'm going to be looking, if it doesn't come back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday become very, very important because right now we're hoping that these return based off of the behavior we saw last time, right? So those are the first two scenarios. As we see either a Monday return based off of the Monday time frame, especially because the date that it started was the 4th into the 5th, same as last month, so maybe there's some congruency there. Or if it's not on Monday, then maybe we'll see something Tuesday or Wednesday because the 4 to 5 day thing actually kicks in. Those are what I'm looking forward to if they are going to return with any sort of expectation. There's also maybe a third option there that it just takes longer, but we have no real basis or any context for that actually being the case. Now, unfortunately, the third option is that they are not going to come back. Now, this one is a little bit interesting because even though they came back last month, like I said, we don't have any rhyme or reason as to why they left or why they came back, which is, pretty scary. But in October, there was a small group that was actually hit by this. They didn't make a lot of noise because it was a smaller group, but some of them were actually pretty big creators. Same thing, their idea list updated, refreshed one day at the top, and they never came back. Their storefront still exists. It still says earns commissions, but I was actually talking to one today. Never came back. No explanation from Amazon. Amazon just says everything's working fine, despite the fact that one person had, 15,000 videos and every single placement was gone within a matter of 48 hours. And unfortunately, as your Amazon influencer guy, it would be, I'd be remiss not to mention that this is a possibility that this could happen here. We technically have a sample for both now, of one not returning and the larger size group actually returning. I think we're more likely to see this return because the dates were the same, the group of people were the same. Basically, we're seeing the same behaviors up to this point. But again, Amazon's in charge here, and we are simply bystanders and watching whatever it is that they do. If these are going to return, here's how this would probably work based on what happened last time. Is first, we would see the idea list update again, refreshed. Right now, if you have idea list and you were hit, they say updated 3 days ago or 2 days ago. I can't remember what it says at this day. If they update, it'll say it again. They're all going to get pushed up to your top of your storefront. They're going to say updated today. That's an indicator that something is moving, and that's exactly what we saw last time. And then slowly they started coming back in over the next 48 hours or so. If that happens, you don't automatically get your placements back. You have to essentially re-earn your place. In fact, some of the people that got hit the first time never really got back to the spot that they were before. They got close eventually over time. That's now been right at about a month, but you're not going to get your placements back, especially if it was a full upper carousel. You're going to have to work your way back in and hope that Amazon has some sort of mercy on you again. Right? And so those are a couple of things that you need to pay attention to. If neither of those things happen, and I would say probably at the latest by like Wednesday, then I think that it's time to hit the panic button. I mean, technically it's kind of time to hit it already because it's Christmas and every day that or holiday, every day that you lose is really important. But I think whenever we talk about that the ship is not going to get righted, I look at probably getting into like the Thursday and Friday. And if nothing changes there, then that is something that everybody kind of needs to be putting into their back pocket and hoping that we don't get to that particular case. What can you do in the meantime? It's hard because, again, customer support is not equipped to understand really what's going on here. There are not Amazon people really making themselves available to us in those positions that can. I know my buddy Steven has put together, if you go over to the Facebook group, the Oink Facebook group, and I'll put a link in the description down below. He has a call tomorrow, which is Monday, with a group. This is not me endorsed or sponsored or Oink endorsed or sponsored. I will be sitting in on that call just listening to hear what the conversation is, but it is some sort of an advocacy group if I understand right. So you may want to go and check out that link if you're somebody that's hit to perhaps participate in that call and however you want. To be honest, this is really hard. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff that you can do because Amazon's going to do what Amazon does. And they are not in any way obliged or obligated or required to do anything on our behalf. There's no such thing as, to Amazon, unfair. Because for them, they're just a machine that keeps on running. And even though I think it's awful, and I think for the people that are impacted, it's devastating, and I'm very aware of the impacts of that. The flip side of that is, like, if you're trying to figure out, well, who can I contact or who should I mean, I don't know. We just don't know. The best case, I think, is that somebody could get somebody to listen and then figure out kind of where it goes from there. I don't think it's one of those things where you get a hold of a certain person and they're just like, oh, we see it now. I just don't think they're going to see it. Somebody has to be able to listen. But hopefully this thing gets rectified here pretty soon. I really hope that if it does, that we don't slide out of this and into 2026 without some sort of an explanation from Amazon. I think that's probably most likely what's going to happen if we do come out of this and these do get replaced, because I just don't know if Amazon quite understands that this is happening, and that would almost be put everybody on edge, but at least we'd get through the holidays with that. So anyways, like I said, I don't have a great answer here, guys. I just want to keep you guys in the loop on what's going on, let you know kind of the correlations that I have been trying to draw between accounts, and I've just got to the point with these where you're not anything other than unlucky. There was not behaviors that did this. There was not a certain type of video you were creating, certain orientation, certain duration. You tagged the wrong products. I can't find anything. And that's awful. So I'll keep you guys updated. I'll make another video tomorrow based off of what I see or do not see. It'll be shorter than this one. This one was really just kind of circle back around because I hadn't made a video about this yet and to kind of recap everything and update everybody. But as your Amazon influencer guy, I know that even though I'm not impacted, I'm talking to enough of you guys, that I understand the impact level of this. I mean, I knew it last month too. So I'll keep you guys posted, and let's continue to hope for the best. As always, thanks for watching. Peace out.